A bloodied Zara spat on the face of the massive warlord towering over her, screaming, "Fuck you, Draco, I won't let you hurt anyone else." Former Earth Commando Bobby Allen's emergency comlink flashed red and wailed. The mercenary's face drained of color when he saw who was calling, Jack Reese. Bobby remembered Jack well. The two were elite mercs and even better friends. Bobby knew Jack wouldn't contact him unless shit really hit the fan. "Bobby, I don't have much time. Pissed off the wrong Rizian warlord. That fuck Draco is hunting my ass." Bobby gritted his teeth hearing that name. Rizians were warmongers, a hyper-aggressive species that lived for carnage and conquest. Draco was the worst of the lot, a brutal sadist who butchered entire colonies for fun. "The hell did you do, Jack?" "Was hired as a bodyguard. For a Rizian girl, Zara, she's different, wants peace. Draco and his goons have been threatening her to keep quiet. I'm getting her off-world, but Plasma fire and alien curses drowned out Jack's voice. "If you're really my friend, promise me. Get to these coordinates, protect Zara, she's our only shot at—" The link went dead. Jack! Bobby punched the bulkhead. He owed that man his life a dozen times over, time to repay that debt. At the remote evac site, Bobby found carnage. A dozen of Draco's berserkers lay dead, ravaged by ballistics no Rizian ever faced. Sprawled in a puddle of blood was Jack Reese, barely breathing. "Be Bobby, knew you'd come. I'm getting you out of here, stay with me." "No, too late for me." Jack gripped his arm with surprising strength. "Zara, she's the key to stopping all this insanity. Rizians invading, slaughtering. Promise me you'll keep her safe. Get her. To other Rizians like her. If their voices grow louder, maybe we can stop this fucking bloodshed once and for all." Jack went limp. His eyes stared into nothing. Bobby closed his friend's eyes, jaw clenched. He made a promise, and Bobby Allen always kept his promises. Even if it meant becoming a one-man army against the worst the Rizians could offer. For Jack, for humanity, for a single alien girl who dreamed of peace. Bobby assembled his motley crew of mercs, the seasoned human soldier Max, the snarky alien slicer Zix, and the hulking lizard brute Gron. "Zix, scan for any weaknesses in their security grid. Max, prep the explosives to make us a door," Bobby ordered. "Gron, get ready to crack some skulls." The alien nodded, fingers dancing over his datapad. "Got it, uploading the compound layout now, highlighting all guard posts." Max grunted, attaching a makeshift detonator to a block of C4. "Heh, they won't know what hit 'em." Gron simply cracked his knuckles, a hungry grin spreading across his reptilian maw. They moved swiftly, Zix's hacking disabling security cams as they advanced. At the outer wall, Max planted his explosives at structural weak points. With a deafening boom, a section crumbled, creating a jagged opening. Alarms blared as they stormed inside, pulse rifles blazing. Rizian warriors poured in, only to be cut down by Max and Bobby's pinpoint shots. Gron waded into their ranks, jaws snapping and clawed hands rending flesh and armor. As they neared the cell block, a towering Rizian blocked their path. He roared a challenge, crested head slamming into Gron. The two titans grappled, smashing through walls. "Corax," Bobby spat, recognizing Draco's top enforcer. He lunged at the Rizian, rifle raised, but Corax was faster, batting aside the gun and slamming Bobby into the floor. Up close, the merc saw Corax's eyes blazed with malice and cruel glee. This bastard lived for violence, Bobby realized. He was outmatched in brute strength, Rizian physiology built for war. Corax pummeled him mercilessly, each blow threatening to crush bone. The Rizian loomed above him, fist raised for the death blow. Bobby stared back, defiant to the end. Suddenly, Corax flew backwards, body flung like a ragdoll by an unseen force. He struck the far wall with a sickening crunch, slumping boneless to the floor. Bobby looked up to see Zara, arm outstretched and eyes glowing with eldritch light. "I couldn't let him kill you," she said softly, helping him stand. Max and Zix rejoined them, Gron lumbering behind, scales splattered with blue Rizian blood. "Fucking hell, remind me not to piss her off," Max quipped, eyeing the crumpled form of Orcs. "Later. We're not out of this yet," Bobby growled. They raced to the landing pad, commandeering a Rizian dropship. As Zix hot-wired the controls, the compound lit up with floodlights and sirens. "Fucking drive," Bobby roared. The ship lurched forward, accelerating wildly as Max opened up on their pursuers with the mounted cannons. Rizian fighters screamed after them, lancing the air with streams of plasma. The dropship jinked and wove, narrowly evading the deadly volleys. Zix's fingers blurred over the console, slicing their targeting systems. "Now!" Suddenly the pursuing craft spiraled out of control, shots going wild. Two collided in a blossom of flame, the rest veering drunkenly away. "Hold on!" Zix punched the hyperdrive, stars blurring into streaks of light as they jumped to safety. In the abrupt silence that followed, Zara turned to Bobby, face grim. "Thank you for saving me, but this is only the beginning. I have knowledge Draco would kill to possess, an ancient Rizian artifact that could end this war. We must find it before he does." The team's stolen dropship docked at way station Zeta, a seedy hub known for its discretion. In a dingy backroom, Zara finally revealed her secret. "The artifact I mentioned. It's called the Doomsday Device, an ancient Rizian superweapon that can wipe out entire star systems," she said, voice grim. "My people, the ones who want peace, we found out where it's hidden. We have to destroy it before Draco gets his hands on it." Bobby leaned forward. "And if he does?" "He'll use it to conquer everything, slaughter billions." Zara met his eyes. "Will you help me stop him?" The mercs traded glances. Max shrugged. "Not like we've got anything better to do." Zix cracked his knuckles. "I'll dig through every Rizian database till we find this thing." "Grant smash good," the lizard rumbled. Bobby clasped Zara's shoulder. "We've got your back, now let's get to work." They spent days gathering intel, Zix data mining, Max working his underworld contacts. Gron most likely 8 people. Finally, they had a lead. "The device is on some uncharted planet in the ass end of Rizian space," Bobby said, pointing to a star map. "We're flying in dark." The jungle world was a green hell, choked with towering trees and shrieking wildlife. Scanners pinged an anomaly ahead, an ancient stone temple, clearly Rizian. Suddenly, plasma bolts seared the underbrush. Armored figures lunged from the foliage, Draco's goons. "Shit, they tracked us!" Max yelled, returning fire. All hell broke loose. Pulse rounds and plasma beams crisscrossed the clearing. Zix hit their armor's power cores with localized EMPs. Gron fucking ate people. In the chaos, Bobby saw Zara slip into the temple. "Damn it, Zara, wait!" He carved a path through the attackers, Max and Zix covering his 6. Inside the temple, he skidded to a halt. Zara stood before a massive orb of seething energy, the Doomsday Device, and next to her... "Draco," Bobby snarled. "Should have figured you'd be here." The warlord smirked. "You led me right to it, Zara. I knew you'd come for the device. Now be a good girl and hand it over." Like hell, Bobby leveled his rifle. "You ain't getting shit, you limp-dicked gecko." Draco's eyes narrowed. "You have no idea what you're dealing with, ape. I'll flay you alive and make the female watch. Last chance. Give me the device." Zara glanced to Bobby, face tight with fear. Her fingers hovered over the pulsating orb. Bobby's jaw clenched. They were out of time and out of options. This asshole was about to get the key to the fucking universe, and there wasn't a damn thing Bobby could... Suddenly, the air in the temple crackled with energy. Zara's eyes glowed an ethereal blue as her telekinetic powers surged to life, triggered by the Doomsday Device's proximity. With a primal scream, she unleashed a psychic blast that slammed into Bobby and Draco like a tidal wave. The two warriors flew backward, crashing into the stone walls with bone-rattling force. Seizing the moment, Zara focused her energy on the pulsating orb. Tendrils of psychic power snaked from her fingertips, enveloping the device as she sought to overload its core. But the Doomsday Device fought back. Its energy lashed out, ensnaring Zara in an inexorable pull. She screamed as the device began to draw her in, threatening to absorb her essence. "Zara!" Bobby staggered to his feet, blood trickling from his split lip. He lunged forward, hands outstretched. His fingers closed around Zara's wrist, and he heaved with all his strength, fighting against the device's pull. Across the chamber, Draco stirred. The warlord's eyes locked on the struggling pair, a cruel smile twisting his features. He surged to his feet, charging toward the device, intent on claiming its power for himself. At that moment, the temple doors burst open. Max and Zix stormed in, pulse rifles blazing. The stench of seared flesh filled the air as they cut down the last of Draco's warriors. Max's eyes widened as he took in the scene. With a snarl, he primed a high-yield charge and hurled it at the doomsday device. The explosion was deafening. A blinding flash engulfed Draco. His scream cut short as the flames consumed him. The shockwave slammed into Bobby and Zara, sending them tumbling across the floor in a tangle of limbs. The doomsday device shuddered, its structure compromised. The energy within began to collapse, folding in on itself like a dying star. A swirling vortex formed, hungrily devouring stone and metal alike. "Run!" Bobby hauled Zara to her feet, dragging her toward the exit. Max and Zix fell in behind them, sprinting for their lives as the temple crumbled around them. They burst into the sunlight, stumbling and gasping. Behind them, the temple imploded with a thunderous roar, vanishing into the ravenous singularity. A battered figure emerged from the jungle, blue blood oozing from a dozen wounds. Gron limped toward them, his reptilian hide scored with plasma burns. At his feet lay a dozen Rizian corpses, their armor rent and bodies broken. The team watched in silence as the singularity collapsed, the doomsday device and the ancient temple vanishing into oblivion. "It's over," Zara whispered, her voice hollow. "The device is gone." Bobby shook his head. "No, this war ain't over. Draco's gone, but there'll be other warlords looking to take his place." He turned to his team, jaw set. "We've got a new mission now. We're going to hunt them down one by one. We'll be the shield, protecting the innocent, the sword, cutting down those who'd threaten peace." Zara met his eyes, a fierce light kindling within. "I'm with you. My people need a voice, someone to lead them out of the darkness. I'll be that voice." Max and Zix nodded, grim determination etched on their faces. Gron growled his assent, fists clenching. Bobby looked to the stars, to the countless worlds still caught in the Rizian's bloody grip. The battle was won, but the war stretched before them, a yawning abyss filled with untold horrors. But they would face it together, for the innocent, for the fallen, for a future free from the Rizian's iron fist. As one, they strode toward their ship, ready to face whatever nightmares the galaxy had in store. Cheers erupted across the galaxy as news of Draco's defeat spread like wildfire. Bobby, Zara, and their ragtag team were hailed as saviors, their names etched into the annals of history. Parades were held in their honor, medals pinned to their chests by grateful leaders. For a brief shining moment, it seemed as though peace might finally be within reach. But even as the celebrations raged on, a new threat stirred in the shadows. Zarkoth, a ruthless Rizian warrior who had long envied Draco's power, saw his chance to seize control. With cunning and brutality, he rallied the fractured Rizian forces under his banner, promising retribution for their fallen leader. Zarkoth's first act was to unleash a devastating attack on a human colony world, a show of force designed to crush any thoughts of resistance. Thousands died in the initial assault, their screams echoing across the galaxy. Bobby and his team found themselves thrust back into the fray, racing against time to defend the beleaguered colonists. They fought with everything they had, Zara's telekinetic powers and Zix's technical wizardry turning the tide of battle again and again. But Zarkoth's forces were relentless, pouring from the sky in endless waves. In the chaos of battle, Max found himself cut off from the others, surrounded by a sea of Rizian warriors. He fought like a man possessed, pulse rifle flaring as he cut down foe after foe, but even his skills couldn't hold out forever. As a plasma bolt tore through his armor, Max knew his time was up. With a last defiant roar, he primed a cluster of grenades and charged into the heart of the Rizian ranks. The explosion was titanic, vaporizing dozens of warriors in a heartbeat. Bobby watched in horror as his friend disappeared in the flames. Beside him, Gron let out a howl of rage and grief. The massive reptilian surged forward, ripping through the Rizian lines like a force of nature. Limbs flew and blood sprayed as he avenged his fallen comrade. But even Gron's strength had limits. A barrage of plasma fire stitched across his body, burning through his tough hide. He stumbled and fell, leaving a trail of shattered bodies in his wake. Zara stood frozen, torn between her pacifist ideals and the desperate need to act. All around her, colonists fled in terror as the Rizians closed in, Zarkoth's cruel laughter echoing in her ears. In that moment, Zara made a choice. She reached deep within herself, tapping into the well of power that had always terrified her. With a scream of rage and anguish, she unleashed a telekinetic blast that shook the very ground beneath their feet. Rizians went flying, their bodies shattered by the sheer force of her will. Buildings crumbled and fires raged as Zara's power tore through the colony, leaving only devastation in its wake. When the dust settled, Zarkoth and his warriors lay broken and lifeless. But the cost had been too high. The colony was in ruins, the dead beyond counting, and Zara. Bobby found her amidst the rubble, cradling the body of a child caught in the crossfire. Tears streamed down her face as she rocked back and forth, whispering broken apologies. "I'm a monster," she choked out as Bobby approached. "No better than them. I can't do this anymore." Before he could respond, Zara was gone, vanishing into the shadows of the ruined colony. Bobby was left standing alone, Max and Gron's bodies cooling behind him, the weight of all they'd lost crushing down on his shoulders. The galaxy had been saved, but at what cost? As Bobby stared up at the stars, he wondered if true peace could ever be achieved in a universe so steeped in blood and sorrow. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.